Heading back out. Gonna see what the river will give me today. Gonna hit an old spot I hadn't been to in a couple of years. We call it the Kirk site because of the Kirk corner notches that we find there. And a lot of middle archaic other things like Bentons and even some early archaic and late paleos like Greenbriers and LaCroix. And I've actually found one broken Clovis there. But I've also found a really fine, nice, thin half of a pot. So I found a lot of pottery shards there. Here we are at the river at last. This is my one-man loading technique. I had to learn it years ago because I went so many times by myself. It works pretty good unless the rope breaks, then I got to go swim for the boat. All right, me and Bigfoot on the river again. Just another day in paradise. Hey, the water's down. That means beach hunt. Nice. All right. I gotta get the compressor. We gotta run in 30 minutes. Time to get suited up. Head on down. I gotta pull the boat out of the eelgrass and tree stumps and stuff so it doesn't hang up while we're down there. Going through the eelgrass is the eeriest part. Sometimes it's taller than we are. But once you get past it, you can see sand and gravel. That's the ancient banks that we search. They're not more than about 15 or 20 feet deep. But it was the actual banks before they dammed the rivers up. This is just an odd rock formation. I thought it was an effigy or a pipe, so I check it out just to be sure. Now this is nice. This is a Jeff. That's a late paleo point, probably 10 to 8,000 years old. It's always nice to find something that old. Not very big, but this was a spear point. Now this shows how murky it is down there. This is about 15 to 12 feet in front of me. You can see how green the water is from all the algae and silt in it. Now up close it doesn't look that murky, but you know, the farther away you get, the thicker the water is. Now I like to fan the bottom. And after you fan it, the current will drag the silt away like a vacuum cleaner. All right, this is a nice little Benton blade. They were middle archaic, probably 3,000 to 7,000 years old. They're nice to find. All right, now this is nice. This is a Buzzard Roost Creek from Middle Archaic, 7,000, maybe 3,000 to 7,000 years old. But it's over 5 inches long, and it's always nice to find something that long and flat. It's a blade for butchering, probably. No telling what all they butchered with it. Woodland buffalo, elk. All right, now this is a broken banner stone. This was the counterweight for an atlatl used to throw a spear. And, it was finely made. Too bad it was broken. Both sides would have looked like that. It's amazing that they could drill straight through rocks like this using just wet sand and a piece of bamboo. But they did it. Would have been nice to find it whole. All right, I don't see it yet, but there's a little pink Kirk down there. Kirk corner lodge. All right, I've seen it now. There we go. This is why I come here, to find these. Kirks are early to middle archaic. That's from 7,000 to 9,000 years old. But yeah, they're the reason I come to this site. I found probably 15 or 20 over the last 30 years here. These fish just get in the way. They like to hang around because I'm knocking rocks over and little bitty crawdads and snail darters. All right, this is a piece of a porcelain cup. It doesn't have any markings on it, so I'm not sure how old it is, but it could have been some Spanish or English trade good, so it would be historic. This gives you an idea of the obstacles down there. A lot of dead trees and big rocks in the way. Got to be real careful pulling the rope behind you and not to get hung up in branches or roots sticking up. A selfie here of old Bigfoot. He looks like he's having fun. All right, now this is a almost complete banner stone, very well made, and they used a nice striped piece of rock. You can see the black stripes going down it. They had a sense of the artistic, and again, they drilled this hole with just wet sand and a piece of bamboo. So they were truly artists. I really like the way they worked it around those stripes. It's amazing. This is a steatite plummet. They would tie these to nets or possibly to long leather strings and make a bolo for throwing at geese as they were coming down in great flocks. Catch maybe 2 or 3 geese at a time with one of these. But the most common use of these were just fishing weights for nets or fishing lines. Speaking of fishing, this is a fish spear. It's not very old, probably 1,500, 2,500 years ago. It's a late woodland. No telling what kind of fish this caught. Now this is a Fraser. It's a middle to late archaic, about 3,000 to 7,000 years old. It's not very well made, but it's functional. And it even looks like they tried to do some basal thinning on it. Now this is a marrow bone, probably a leg bone from a deer. They would bust them open and get the marrow out. They ate everything on the deer, all the meat, all the entrails, and they used the skin and the sinew to make clothing and thread, but they also used the bones for tools. I found several bone pins and bone knives. So they didn't let anything go to waste. A lot of seaweed down there. Got another big bass hanging around, wanting me to kick him up a crawdad. They get in the way, have to just push them out. Now this is an Old Crow whiskey bottle. The date on the bottom says 67, so it's not all that old, but it's always fun to find something like this. You can see the Old Crow up there, and it says Old Crow on the bottom. But yeah, it's pretty neat looking. And this, I think, is a Copina articulate with a broke tip. That was Middle Archaic to woodland, so about 2,500 to 5,000 years old. This is a heartbreaker when you find one that's got like the tip broken. But it's a good sized blade anyway. Another fish getting in the way. They just hang around right beside me. All right, now this is a greenstone celt. Now it's not polished or sharp, so I'm thinking it was an agricultural implement. It would have been hafted for grubbing or digging. It's not sharp enough to be an axe, and it's not polished enough to be ceremonial, but it's definitely a greenstone celt. You can see the pecking on there, how they shaped it. They call that peck and polish. Now this is just an old piece of metal. I always check them out though, because you never know if you'll find a flintlock or some kind of antique mechanism. Now this is a little white springs. They're from the early to middle Archaic, probably 5,000 to 6,000 years old. They were projectiles. Now here's that bass again, or a different one. It's a good sized one. They don't seem to be at all afraid of me down there. Got to do a selfie for me. I think I'm saying hi, everybody. Now before I go, I got to feed the brim. Sometimes they'll get into a real feeding frenzy with dozens of them. Right here, there's maybe 4 or 5 coming in. All right, time to come up. Got to crawl through that nasty eelgrass again. You can see how coated with silt it is, so as you go through it, big clouds come up, kind of blind you. Back up to the surface. Time to go home.